Hello and good morning. Happy Wednesday to you. I almost said happy Monday. I'm still stuck in the past on that one, huh? Well, either way, it is Wednesday, and y'all, I hope you're doing well. Hope it's a good morning for you. Hope your week is off to a good start. Sean, good to see you, buddy. I wanted to try something a little bit different today. Something we haven't done before on stream. How's it gonna go? Not a clue. Not a clue. But I just didn't know what to stream today. You know, we got a couple good formats that we do. I have a lot of fun with a lot of them. All of them, really. That's why we do them. Y'all seem to like them as well. But I don't know, just none of them were feeling right today. So I was just thinking on it. Kind of just, wanted to mull on it, sleep on it. And kind of had a wild idea today. So, hey, let's see how it goes. Might be no one tunes in. Might be this is too much like school and people don't like it. I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. Other name wasn't available. Good to see you, my guy. Happy Wednesday. Sean, other name, how y'all been? You doing good? Got Antonio over on Video App, my friend. Good to see you. Hope you're doing well as well. Welcome in. So, as I said, folks, going to do something a little bit different today. So, I've set up some screens for it, some scenes. I don't know if they're going to be easily viewable, but we're going to figure it out as we go. So hold on, I'm going to get real small. There I go. So maybe this is too much like school, but I figure if you watch this stream, you're probably into writing. You probably like books and stories. And I have mentioned this little thing behind me a couple times, so I figured, you know what, let's talk about it today. Let's go through it. Let's go through essentially story structure. This to me is kind of the outline for how to write a book. I got a couple scenes with it, so we'll see what y'all like, but this is me small, it big, and then we can pop over to this one. So you can see a bit more detailed, specifically what it says at certain points, and I'll move it like this so we can read through it. But for now, let's let you see as much as I could get of like all of it on screen. So, what is it, you might ask? Which, Meg H, welcome in, good to see you. Tide and Tara, you just joined in, good to see you as well, y'all. I'm glad you're here for this one. Give me some feedback on it. Teacher Alex today. We're gonna see how we like this. Could be a one-off, could be a one and done, but let's give it a shot. So, what is this that we're looking at? This is a reference material that I made to help me with writing stories, essentially plotting stories. It's from K.M. Weiland's website. She is an author and writing instructor, but she puts out a lot of incredible free resources, and she put out a whole article series on basically Acts 1, Acts 2, and Acts 3 of a book. And I just wanted to compile it into something visual, so I made this. So I guess let's start at the top, or in this case, the bottom, and we'll go through basically all the important elements of writing a story. Now, these are not elements. Oh, that's not right. There it is. These are not elements that you have to have in a story, but they're commonly agreed upon to be good elements. Spiky, you said any tips on making the story richer? What do you mean by richer? You want to be more in depth, or more, I don't know, feel more alive, more real? Claire, just explain what you mean by richer, and I'll try to help out. But while we wait on that, folks, let's start right here at, I would say the top, but the bottom. 0% of the way into your story. I wish you could see my mouse. I don't think you can on there, but I guess I'll try to point generally. So 0% of the way into your story. No words written. The first line of your story, this is where you want the hook. If you've watched my opening line streams, you're aware of what the hook of a story is, but basically it's the opening line, it's the first few paragraphs, it's the first chapter where you really drag people into the story. You hook them with your story. That should come at 0 to 2% of your story. And as we go through this, I'm just going to assume that you're writing a 100,000 word story that's average for a fantasy novel. Jasmine Seawright, good to see you. Lestro, welcome in, y'all. Appreciate you joining me. We're trying something a little new today, so bear with me. I hope it's interesting. If not, don't got to do it again, but we'll try it out. Spiky, you clarified on your question. You said you want to make your story more alive, giving the story more depth and realism. Depth and realism, I think, is mainly a pacing issue. I think take more time in your scenes and in your world to just exist with the characters, with everything, everyday things that they might do that are not necessarily the plot. Not too much time, but just a little more time. Let it breathe. Essentially, depth comes from slowing it down so we can appreciate the world, and then having real world rituals, holidays, events, foods, just all the things that make a world real. Make sure you have the time to go over that. Jake Hartman on Video App, good to see you, buddy. I hope you're doing well on this Wednesday. And hey, welcome in for something a little new. Jasmine, we're doing good. We're going to try something out new today. So, all right, we covered the hook, basically. The hook is that opening line of your story, and it should come as soon as you can get it in the story. Literally, the opening sentence is a hook. Honestly, your title, your cover art, that also is hook. All of these are things that get people just into your story right away. Now, if we're talking purely from a writing aspect, your hook is going to be an interesting opening line. To quote my own writing, just because I have it off the top of my head, one of my successful hooks recently was the first line of the book opens with, "Goblins are like if cats, hairless cats, had thumbs and learned to walk on two legs. But while cats are allowed to commit as many crimes as they want on account of being cute and small, the same hasn't been true of goblins ever since they discovered arson." So it's just an interesting line, catches you by surprise, and gets people intrigued with the story, right? That's your hook. That's 0 to 2%. Now, it's your opening line, it's your opening paragraphs, it's your opening chapter. It's just an interesting beginning to the story. And the most important thing, if you're a longtime viewer here, folks, you've heard this a million times, but it's really important. The most important thing you can do for a reader early on is make them ask themselves a question about the story. Why is this character doing this? Why does it matter so much? Ooh, what happens if they don't do this? Those questions that readers ask themselves subconsciously make them want to stick with the story and continue reading. So that's why your hook is good and important and should be there as soon as possible. Sam, you said first time here, very interesting. Well, thank you, my man. Welcome in. I'll give you the full view. We're going to go over kind of story structure today. Just trying something new out. So if you have any questions, ask away as we go through it. But I guess welcome to Teacher Alex today, I suppose. Let's see. Titan Terra, you said, I saw a video where someone took their goal word count and also put it down. So 25% could be 3,500 words. I'm not sure what you mean by that, Terra. But feel free to elaborate, or maybe I'm just not getting it. I apologize. Fat Frog, what's up, my guy? Welcome in. You love the idea? Well, cool. I hope you enjoy. Ask any questions as we go along. Rafi, yeah, please ask away, my guy. Rise, so we are learning story structure, essentially, today. This is a graphic that I made about the basic elements of a book. Things that you should think about having in a book. If you were going to bullet point outline a book or a story and not go by chapters, these are the important things you should do. So let's see, how many important things we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. So basically 11 bullet points for how to write a book is what we can call this. So that's the overview one. Let's get to the zoom in. You can see here we've covered the hook. That's the opening of the book. If we're moving on, we're going to get to the inciting event at 12% of the way through your story. Again, we're going to say that your book is 100,000 words because that's about average for a fantasy novel. It varies for other genres. So 12% in, 12,000 words in. That's about 3 chapters in. Now, an issue that I've had in the past is I want to jump right to the inciting event straight away in my story. It's a bit of a weakness of mine. Perhaps we could stretch it and call it stylistic. But I have had feedback from important people in the industry saying that my inciting event comes too quickly. What is an inciting event? This is essentially the thing that starts the story. It is the thing that happens to the main character that starts the story. If we're talking about Aragon, the inciting event is probably the egg hatching. I apologize if that's a spoiler for you. The book's been out for a while. It's probably the egg hatching. If we're talking Lord of the Rings, it's probably Frodo learning that the ring is the One Ring. You'll notice these are important events that happen in a book but don't come immediately. And the reason for that is the inciting event is more impactful when we care about the characters it is happening to. So you're going to have your hook early on. The space between the hook and the inciting event is where you're going to get us introduced to the character, show us their daily life. What are they about? What are they doing? Get us familiar with them, get us to like them, and then at 12%, boom, you hit us with the inciting event. That's when, basically, I've heard it described another way as introduce us to the world of the character, and then the inciting event introduces us to the world of the story. What's different that is causing the story to happen? And so again, that happens at 12% of the way through. And that's firmly going to be in Act 1. And you know what? I just now realized I probably should have talked about the acts first. You'll notice this is divided into 3 acts. The 3-act structure is pretty common for books. It's an easy way to divide it up. Act 1 is basically when you're going to have reaction, as you see here. It says in the middle bar, like right here, reaction. That's where things are happening to the character, and the character is reacting. Later on, the back half of Act 2 and all of Act 3 is the action. The character is going to be, instead of reacting, they are now taking the initiative. More on that later. What I really wanted to get to was 3 acts in your book. Act 2 is as long as Act 1 and Act 3 together because it's kind of the meat of the book, and it's a lot of setup. I see a lot of questions here, so let me look at those real quick for a moment. Titan Terra, you said, oh, so you're saying it's just you're a way you saw someone reduce the word count of a book so that your goals would be smaller, more manageable word counts. Yeah, that could totally work. Misfit Mikey, you said, is it bad if I'm assuming you mean inciting event already happened and the characters are in the fallout? So, no, it's not bad, not by any means. And in fact, guys, as I go through this, as we talk about story structure for this whole thing, keep in mind, this is generalities. You don't have to follow this. And in fact, books can be incredibly original and different by not following it. But if you want a guideline, this is an important, easy to visualize way to do it. Sean, you said, where would Gandalf dying in Lord of the Rings fall? That's probably, if we're talking about, are we talking about all 3 books, or are we talking about Fellowship? Because, like, Fellowship is technically 2 books in one. I'm going to consider the whole trilogy fitting onto this. So Gandalf dying would probably be the first pinch point of the story. Right around here at like the 37% mark. I don't know if right there, first pinch point. And we'll get to that. Raffi, you said, I feel with my story there's too much setup. Could I start an action to the plot point being a flashback? Start in action, and then you have... Okay. Yeah, you could do that, Raffi. You should start the story as late as makes sense for the reader. As late as you can without losing the reader. And if that needs to be further in the story and then flashback to give us additional information, totally fine. Okay, going on to the next part of this. Here's the bigger view. We covered hook. We covered inciting event. After the inciting event, there's the key event. Now, that sounds a little bit like the inciting event. Don't let it confuse you. The key event is more about what happens after the main character is on their journey. Right, so this is going to come at the 20 to 25% mark. We're a fourth of the way through the book. We're about 20 to 25,000 words. If the inciting event would be Frodo finding out that he has the One Ring, the key event is probably more about meeting Aragorn and Bree, I would say. It's an important event that carries the story forward after you've already journeyed into the world of the story. If the regular world is Frodo living in the Shire being happy, the story world is the adventure he sets off on once he learns he has the One Ring. Key event, I think of all the bullet points on this, the key event is probably the weakest. And if you're gonna leave one bullet point out, you could leave the key event out. It's important, but despite its name, I think it's not that relevant. And in fact, I've considered removing it from this. But it's there for now. Now, this is one of my favorite things in the story, the first plot point. It's going to come at 25%, 25,000 words. And if we look at the overview, you can see the first plot point is right there. We are ending Act 1. Yes, Rafi, you can watch this back on YouTube. Oh, not supposed to say that. On video app later. The stream is being recorded as it's uploaded, so it'll be on my video app channel. Thank you for the follows, by the way, folks. I appreciate you. And if you have any questions as we go through this, please ask me. Cohen, you said it reminds you of a video on story structure by Dan Harmon. Yeah, I've heard a bit about Dan Harmon's logic for story. I like it a lot. Particularly, he talks about why every event should lead to the next event. One event happening should cause the next event to happen. It shouldn't just be this happens and then this happens. It should be because this happened, this now has to happen. And it progresses like that. It's great. Okay, so the first plot point. This is functionally what we're going to call the first big, exciting piece. In fact, when I'm planning books, plot points are there's 3 plot points in here. See, we got first plot point right there. Second, well, I guess it's the second pitch point is kind of what I think of as the second plot point, and then the third plot point above it. These are kind of the 3 big set pieces, is what I would call them. Particularly when I'm writing a book that has a lot of action, I think of big fight scenes, big set pieces, and the first plot point is the first of those. This is, if you were going to think to yourself 3 big moments in the story, the first plot point is the first of those. This is going to be let's think. I'm trying to think of a book that, I guess we can continue with Lord of the Rings as an example. A lot of people know that. For Lord of the Rings, the first plot point, in my opinion, and I'm considering the whole of the trilogy here, I'm going to say it's either the Council of Elrond, where they decide... actually, you know what? I'm going to say the Council of Elrond would be the key event in Lord of the Rings. It's the event that sets Frodo out fully on his journey, right? The first plot point is going to be probably entering Moria, perhaps even the stand on the bridge of Khazad-dûm with the Balrog. It's typically a big set piece. Braden, I think the council would be the first plot point, or the key event. The inciting event would be Frodo finding out that the ring is the One Ring. It's the thing that throws him from his regular life into the story, into his new adventure in the story. Tazka, Tolkien just needed a story to go with the language he developed. I mean, pretty much. But Braden, also keep in mind, this is hard and fast. This isn't set in stone. All of this is flexible. This is more a guideline. And it's to help you if you were just going to pick, 11 bullet points for your story. Okay, Nick, I love this question. I was just about to get into it. You asked, what is the difference between plot point and pinch point? So, a plot point is I said it's like the big battle, right? You could think of the first plot point as the entire scene in Moria. The pinch point is when something goes wrong for the characters. The pinch point should be when the antagonists, perhaps not the main villain, but an antagonist in the story, shows themselves, demonstrates their power, and causes harm to the main characters. For the sake of the analogy we're using with Lord of the Rings, we'll say that the first pinch point would be Gandalf dying, fighting the Balrog. The first pinch point needs to hurt. It needs to be the first real blow the main character takes that's really a setback for them. Wick, you said you just scrolled here. You thought it was a breakdown of the Doomsday Clock. No, we're going over story structure today. Just gonna basically, this is an overview of how to easily plot a book or a story. Yes, and Bonnie, this could work for a comic. That's why I've been saying story. It really works for movies, stories, etc. And also, I did mention I learned this information from K.M. Weiland's website. It's called Helping Writers Become Authors. All this is for free on her website, but this is kind of an amalgamation of what I've learned over the years, and I've adapted it in my career as an author. I mentioned that, though, because she has a really cool resource on her site where she takes popular movies, popular books, and she'll break them down across this. She'll just outline, in the 1999 classic Master and Commander. I don't know if it's from 1999. I'm just pulling that out. The hook is this. The inciting event is this. And it's easy to understand when you know the movie. So if you're not as familiar with Lord of the Rings, that might help you a bit more. Because that's, for whatever reason, the example we've chosen today. Rafi, this is most targeted at fantasy. Or general fiction, a mystery novel, a romance novel. They might have different formats. I think what would really change here, let's grab the full view again. What would really change is just going to be the place at which these things happen. That being said, I think these 11 plot points, these 11 bullet points are still going to be there. It's just they might happen at different points, and you focus on different things. Like in romance, instead of the first pinch point might be like a rejection from the romantic interest or something like that, or a reason that they can't be together, right? It's just something that hurts the main character and demonstrates the power of the antagonist, be that antagonist a villain or an outside force, etc., etc. Cohen, you said this image is also very applicable to games like Baldur's Gate 3. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, hey, you could overlay this on a D&D campaign too if you wanted. If you're a DM, you're trying to plan things out. You could totally use this to plot as much as you can. The players are going to go off script. Okay, anyway, we're at the strong reaction. We did kind of skip over that because we had a question about the first pinch point. So let's talk about it all kind of together. The first plot point would be the Fellowship in Moria. A strong reaction. Let's see what the strong reaction is. A reaction to the first plot point. So it's somebody doing something about the first plot point. If we're considering Frodo the main character, I feel the strong reaction might be a little bit missing in Moria. Like I said, this is a flexible outline for books, but I'm trying to think of one. It almost feels like Frodo doesn't have a strong reaction in Moria. I think a better character would probably be like Aragorn, Boromir in Moria, reacting to Frodo being stabbed by the cave troll, right? Or Merry and Pippin teaming up and jumping on its back after it stabs Frodo. That's the strong reaction you're looking for here. It is the character making a choice to do something they wouldn't otherwise do because of what's happening. The strong reaction is a big moment that you want to have, that shows the character changing. The character they were in their life back in the Shire would never do what they do in the strong reaction, right? It shows growth and progress on the point of the character, and then is immediately followed up by the first pinch point, which slaps the character down. It hurts. Something bad happens to them. And if you're gonna have like one main villain throughout the whole book, the first pinch point is where they need to demonstrate their power. It makes the stakes real. It makes the antagonist scary, and it shows that this isn't going to be an easy journey. The main character has had a strong reaction to what's happening here, and then instead of being rewarded for it, something bad happens, and it makes them kind of second guess themselves, right? It's showing, hey, this is going to be tough. You're not just going to coast through it. Meg H, it's an interesting question. You said you're thinking of how to apply this to a multi-POV story. So it depends on the journey of the characters, right? Typically, I look at this from a single character POV. These things are happening to one character, but every other character in the story, it's going to happen to them as well. We might not see it all on page, and it could be an abridged version of it, but every character that's an important character should have some variation of this that they go through. But by the nature of focusing on a main character, we're going to see this journey for them more than others, even if side characters are going through it as well. And characters, especially like in Lord of the Rings, can share things. Like I was talking about the strong reaction. I think you could argue in the first plot point, Moria, the strong reaction comes from Merry and Pippin, Boromir, Aragorn, Gimli reacting to Balin's tomb, stuff like that. Ace, you absolutely could apply this to a D&D campaign. I think, in fact, it would be really fun. Basically, you just, plot out 11 bullet points that you want to hit in the campaign that fit this. Keeping the players on rails to get there is going to be tough. But it'd be good to have in the back of your head, right? Especially if you just want to adapt on the fly when they change it up on you. I think there was a question I wanted to get to. Where was it? Spiky, you said for a long story, how should I do this to make the story interesting? This would apply no matter the length of your story. That's why we have it in percentages. Your 25% could be 25,000 words. It could be 10,000 words. It could be 50,000 words. Just think about it in percentages. As long as this stuff's happening and meaningful progress is being made towards the end goal, your story's good. It'll be interesting. That's a simplification, obviously, but okay, moving on. The turning point. Y'all, this is my favorite part of the book. We're at 50% of the way through. Lord of the Rings is tough because we're kind of analyzing 3 books at once, right? But I'll stick with the analogy. The turning point in Lord of the Rings, I'm thinking from Frodo's perspective. What do we think is a good example here? This needs to be the midway point, 50% of the way through the story. And up until this time, see this little reaction bar right here? Right there? Reaction? The main character, up until now, has been reacting to the things happening to them. There's a wide shot for you. Should be a little easier to view. The first 50% of the story, the main character is reacting to the events of the story. Things are happening to them. Frodo has been given the ring. Frodo has been told you need to go on this journey and destroy it. At the turning point, the character, instead of reacting, needs to start taking action. This could be a little bit complicated because you could say, well, he took action by journeying to Rivendell. He took action by realizing that he is the one at the Council of Elrond who has to take the ring to Mordor. All of those are valid interpretations. The main thing here is that up until the 50% mark, things have been happening to the main character, and at the 50% mark, the main character now needs to become the character who drives the story. Weirdly, in Lord of the Rings, I almost feel like this happens at the end of the first book, or the first movie, Fellowship. It's weird with books because there's really 6 books in Lord of the Rings. They're combined into Fellowship, Towers, and Return of the King. But I think the turning point, if I had to say, would be after Amon Hen, when Frodo sets out on his own. He, at that point, is realizing, instead of me being carried through this, I have to do this myself. He is now driving the story. Again, I don't think it lines up exactly at the 50% mark for Lord of the Rings. That's just the analogy we're using. But the turning point is my favorite part of the story. In my books, I tend to think of it as the point at which something big happens and the main character decides, I'm no longer going to let the villain choose what I do. I'm not just running from the villain of the story. I'm not hiding anymore. Now I'm going to have my, what do you call it? Montage. I'm going to have my training montage. I'm going to get strong. I'm going to be the one that starts hitting back, right? That's my favorite part of the book, honestly. Kyle, you said you love the diagram. It helps with your writing. Oh, well, good. That's what I want to hear, man. I'm glad to hear that. Titan Terror, you said, can we take a moment and have an intro about your books? Yeah, I probably should do that, huh? Thank you, Titan Terror, for reminding me that I should talk about that. We can go over it real quick. Y'all, if you don't know, welcome in. Hey, and God Abes, thank you very much, my friend. You have just increased the Asmon gold counter again. Up to 71, folks. What a glorious day. What's up, my guy? Welcome in. Oh, wait. In a league... No, sorry, it was Kyle that said that. I was like, NA League support. I know you. You've been here before, but it was God who said that. God climbed the counter, so an organic mention. Kyle, I'll answer that question in a moment. Good question. Y'all, if you don't know, I am author Alex Knight, and today we are going over story structure, kind of a new format. If there's anything you've missed, please ask, and I can quickly go over it. With a quick little review. We've just gotten to the turning point, 50%. So if we want a quick review of the bullet points up to that, happy to do it. And I should say real quick, y'all, if you don't know me, I'm author Alex Knight. I stream weekdays at 7 a.m., Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. On Mondays, we do Q&A. I answer all your questions about writing, books, being an author, the publishing industry. That being said, if I'm live, I'm always taking questions about it. Wednesday is kind of a free-for-all. We don't know what we're doing. Today, we're going over story structure. And on Fridays, we make fantasy maps live on stream. So come on back on Friday for that. And if you don't know me, here are my books. They're all linked in my bio. Please check them out. They're audiobooks, paperbacks, ebooks, whatever. And you can see in these how I apply the 3-act structure to my stories, essentially. Pancake, you said thoughts on the Kindle AI feature. Don't love it. I'm not a fan of it. I need to learn more about it, but from what I've seen so far, I'm not a fan. And what it boils down to is monopolies are bad, and Amazon has pretty darn close to a monopoly, especially in the self-published author world. And unfortunately, we have to play by their rules until there's a better system out there. Don't love it, not happy about it, but I would lose probably 80% of my sales if I wasn't on that website. Jake Hartman over on Video App said, I think if Alex got glasses, we could really pump those "you look like Vsauce" numbers up. I don't know Vsauce, y'all. I don't know other streamers. But I'm glad that I look like half of them. Okay, and there was a question I wanted to answer. Kyle, you said, is it easier to self-publish or go with an agent? They're different. Self-publishing, no one can tell you no, essentially. But you have to do all of the work yourself. You got to format the book, publish the book, market the book, sell the book, kind of like what I do. Going traditional publishing with an agent is hard because there's a lot of people that might say, no, we're not interested in your book. You have to get a literary agent to be interested in your book. Then you have to work with the literary agent to sell your book to a publisher. There's a lot of gate checks where people are going to gatekeep you and not let you publish because they want to publish a good book that makes sales. So that's kind of the balance. Self-pub's a lot more work, but you're guaranteed to be published. Traditional publishing, less work, but you got to convince people to publish you. All right, so back to our outline. This is the overview. We've covered the hook, the inciting event, the key event, the first plot point, the strong reaction, the first pinch point, and the turning point. So we're at 50% of the way through the book. Now we're going to move into the strong action. The strong action that comes after the first plot, or after the turning point, is going to have to be basically, it happens pretty much immediately after the turning point. If the turning point is the main character saying, I am no longer reacting to the story, instead I am going to be proactive and make the story react to me, the strong action should be their first demonstration of that. It needs to be basically, in a lot of classic, like 80s movies, it would be the training montage, right? It's where the character goes, I am taking things into my own hands, I am stepping up, I'm going to be the one driving the story. This is always a fun scene to write. And then, second pinch point. Y'all, we talked about the first pinch point. This is basically the same thing, but it needs to hit even harder. The second pinch point is basically the low point of the story. Now, it could go, there's kind of two ways you could do this. A second pinch point is just like the first one. Something bad needs to happen because your character is probably pretty amped up from the turning point and the strong action. They are feeling good about themselves. They're putting in the work. They're making progress. The story's reacting to them now like they have taken the reins, right? The second pinch point is when you knock them down again. And again, you're like, hey, pump the brakes. The villain's strong. This isn't going to be easy. Just because you've had a training montage doesn't mean you're going to soar through to the end of the book, right? Again, if we're following Lord of the Rings, I think the second pinch point needs to be like. It's tough again because it's 3 books, so it's not going to overlay it perfectly. I think it would have to be like Helm's Deep, maybe, but that's not really Frodo's storyline, right? Frodo's not at Helm's Deep, so let's focus on Frodo for this. It's probably being at Osgiliath after being captured by Faramir, where the ring takes control of Frodo such that he offers it up to the ring wraiths. That's probably the second pinch point for him. Shelob is a good guess, Jackann. That's more of Sam's story, I would say, and that's how kind of that's how this works for different characters. Every character is going to experience, every important character will experience a variation of this as they go through the story. Shadow, you said, where can I find this image? The easiest place to find it is it's posted in my Discord, probably. It's also on my website. If you go to my Discord, though, which is linked in my bio, and then go to writing resources, I have this image in there. I'll also, that's it. That's where it is online, or my website. And Shadow, you said, where can you read my books? Well, thank you for asking. I appreciate that. Here's my books. They're all linked in my bio as well. They're on that book-selling website named after a South American river, which I'm not allowed to say the name of. They're also on the audiobook website owned by said company. Basically, anywhere you buy books online, you can find them. So thank you very much, and I hope you find one you like. What are my thoughts on graphic organizers for writing an essay? I'm not familiar with them, Slow Dive. What is that all about? I've not heard of those. Shadow, you said, what's my favorite book that I've written? I have no favorite children. Wink, wink. This one. This is probably my favorite. It's a comedy fantasy about goblins on a road trip, trying to retrieve the Dark Lord's doomsday weapon for him so he can finally defeat those pesky forces of good. But they're goblins, so they mess it up. They get distracted. They go on side quests, and it's pretty zany. It's my most recent one. If you like to laugh, if you like off-the-rails D&D campaigns, feel free to give it a look. And I hope you enjoy it. Okay, we are at the second pinch point. Let's zoom in on that. Second pinch point. I think it's a good argument that Shelob that's not a bad idea for Frodo's story. It could also be Frodo sending Sam away when Gollum convinces him that Sam is trying to take the ring from him. That might be a good second pinch point for this analogy. But again, it is a low point where the antagonist shows their strength, and the main character, despite making progress, getting better, becoming more of an adventurer or adventurous person, gets knocked down a peg again. Nature Dane, you said, that's a cool name, actually. I was confused by the flags on it, but Nature Dane, I like it. Where can I get your books? They are linked in my bio, basically, but they're for sale basically everywhere you could buy books. Feel free to just click into the bio and check them out. Thank you for asking. Natural, do you think authors can pivot into video game writers? Yeah, totally. In fact, I've been recruited to be a video game writer because I've been an author. A lot of the time, you'll see authors take that on as a project. They would be hired by the video game company, kind of like George R. R. Martin working on Elden Ring. They'd be hired on to work on the project for a while, create the lore and whatnot that they're needed for, and then once their contracts are filled, they go back to writing books. So that's a cool little side adventure you could have. Empathy, you said, is there a story or book that portrays this arc best in your opinion? I think most books portray this to some level. Off the top of my head, I'm not sure there's one that portrays it best. I think if you read a lot of coming-of-age fiction, you're going to see this a lot. That's probably like the style of story that follows this best. I have read Red Rising Notification. It's a good book. I like it. What's up, Tyler? Welcome in, my guy. Happy Wednesday to you. We're trying something a little new today. Going over story structure. I don't know, just had a wild hair to try it out. So welcome in, man. Natural, you said you've really wanted to work for video games, but wasn't sure if one would start as an author. You don't have to start as an author to write for video games, but you should have some writing chops, some experience. Write for short stories, submit them to contests, see if you could win a few contests. Stuff like that. It's a good place to start. Video game writing's hard to get into just because there's not a clear path to get to it, you know? Be creative, write a lot, read a lot, be in the video game world, basically. Kind of just take advantage of the opportunities as they come. That is a difficult one. There's no clear path to it. Shadow, you want to know the meaning of a plot point. So a plot point is essentially an event that happens over the course of the story. That's really the easiest summary. I like to think of them, if we're thinking of a story that has a lot of action in it, I think of them as like big battles, meaningful fight scenes. They are important moments in the story where things that are very critical to the completion of the story happen, essentially. Natural, you want to break down to the graph? Okay, we'll do a quick overview, and then we'll finish the last third of it because we're getting to the good stuff now. I love the last third, y'all. Some fun stuff happens. So if we go back to the beginning real quick, here, I'll do the big image of it. We're going to start at the hook, 0% of the way through your story. This is your opening line, your opening paragraphs, your opening chapter, that have to be interesting enough to grab the reader's attention and make them ask questions so that they stick around to read more. Those questions could be, why does this character care so much about this? What happens if, you know, this bad thing they're worried about happens? It could be just a weird question of like, wait, why are they doing this, etc., etc. It is anything that is an interesting introduction to the book that makes the reader ask themselves a question, because if they ask themselves a question, they're very likely to stick around seeking an answer to that question. It's a subconscious thing. It happens to all readers, really. It happens in movies, etc., all stories. The inciting event is basically the thing that makes the character, drags the character from their normal world into the adventure world. For the purpose of our analogy that we've been using, this is Frodo discovering the ring he has is the One Ring, right? That takes him out of his life in the Shire and thrusts him into the adventure world. The key event, I believe we said, was perhaps the weakest of the bullet points here, but now that the main character is out of their comfortable world, the key event continues to force them away from their normal world. I think someone in chat called it the point of no return, and that's spot on. It's the point at which the main character commits themselves to the journey and knows that they can't go back to the life they had before the story started. The first plot point is going to be... Oh no, I lost... Oh, there is TikTok chat's back. Good. The first plot point is going to be basically the first big set piece. Naturally, you want a screenshot of the graph? Here we go. I'll put it right. Can you see it clearly? You can probably see it pretty good there, huh? The first plot point is the first big set piece. I said for the analogy of Lord of the Rings, it's like Moria. It's the first big, meaningful thing that is a set piece, a big battle, all of journeying through Moria, stuff like that. The strong reaction, for our analogy, we said it's Boromir, Aragorn, Pippin, and Merry reacting to Frodo being stabbed by the cave troll. It's a reaction to the first plot point. And it is immediately followed by the first pinch point. This is the first time that the antagonist of the story demonstrates their power and knocks the main character down a peg. The pinch points should hurt. We said it was Gandalf dying. That was our guess to fit it over Lord of the Rings. Moving into the turning point, you'll notice that we've been in the reaction side of things. You know, right? We can point to it. There we go, the reaction side of things. The turning point is where the main character says, I am done reacting to the story. I am now going to take the lead, and the story is going to react to me. It's a turning point for the main character. They take the initiative, essentially. Almost always happens at the 50% mark of the story. Part of the reason why using this is a good idea, guys, is these are things that readers subconsciously expect. And like the turning point, it can get boring to see a character react to the story for the entire book, right? At some point, we want to see them become the main character they're supposed to be, right? That turning point where we switch from reaction into action is where that happens. And even if we don't realize it, we're like cheering for that to happen, and it gets people excited when that happens. That's basically why this is helpful. It's like a step-by-step guide to give readers the things they subconsciously expect. We can probably go to the big one now. Here we go. All right, so turning point, strong action. Again, this is now, I called this one the montage moment. This is the training montage. Cue the music, show the character going through generally a time jump where they're working to get better. They're improving, they're facing on the battle that's coming. Fat Frog, I love that. You said no one wants a whiny character. Woe is me the whole way through. Exactly. That's why we turn from reaction to action in the middle of Act 2. Author Lance Krautlogger, my friend, welcome in. You said, love this information. Wish I had this crash course before I wrote my first book. I know, right? Same, man. Same. I came to it way too late. Jack Ann, you're spot on. You said the 3-act structure has been around for eons. It's basically ingrained in our brains. Yeah, it is. We might not realize it, but this is how we're used to hearing stories, which is why it's a nice thing to use, because it gives readers want an entertaining story, but they also have a couple things they expect, whether they realize it or not. And a story can feel unsatisfying when it lacks those things. So we talked about turning point and strong action. Second pinch point, this is just like the first pinch point, but this has gotta hurt more. The antagonist once again needs to show their power and needs to make the main character hurt. This is a setback. This hurts a lot and leads into the third plot point. The third plot point, and now this could happen, what I'm going to say could happen in the second pinch point or the third plot point. Pick your choose, see what makes sense for your story. But between these, you need to have, either in the second pinch point or the third plot point, you need to have the low point of your story. This is the absolutely all hope is lost moment. There's no coming back for this. We've certainly lost. We're done, right? We're not going to be able to make it happen. This is typically like emotionally damaging. This needs to be the point where the main character considers giving up, right? They're like overwhelmed with everything that's happened. If we're continuing with our analogy of Lord of the Rings, Frodo's journey specifically, the low point is probably Shelob. That's probably what I would say for it. Or it could be when he wakes up after being captured by orcs, after being stabbed by Shelob. He wakes up and thinks, "Oh my God, they've taken the ring. I've messed up. Everything is lost." Right? And then Sam comes in and saves the day. Sorry if that's spoilers for you. This needs to be the low point of the book, and this is where things, in my opinion, get easy, because this leads directly into, let's see if I can point to it, increased pace. See that little extra bar right there? Increased pace. This is the point at which you dial the speed up. You push the gas pedal down, because we are now hurtling unstoppably towards the climax of the story. Personally, I find this part of the story very easy to write, because at this point you've set up all the pieces, you've knocked the dominoes over, there's no stopping, there's no turning back, we are full tilt to the end. Your third plot point is going to continue all the way to the end of the story. I would say, at least if we're going off like the movie versions of Lord of the Rings, Frodo being in Mordor is basically the third plot point. That whole scene, that's that whole set piece like I was talking about. And you're going to have increased pace through the end of the story. At 90% to 98%, you're going to have the climax of the story. Now, the climax is basically the pivotal moment of the story. It's the moment at which the moment to which the entire story has been building. And here's something really interesting. People tend to, I think the instinct is to think the climax is going to be the main character tries really hard and they succeed. There's a little more to it than that, and I think this really is a different lesson. It ties into character arc, but the climax should not just be solved because the main character tries really hard. The climax should be solved because the main character has a breakthrough in how they're thinking about the story. a way you could put it is the main character begins believing a lie, and they have something that they want in life. But to solve the story, there's something that they need, right? And the climax is the point at which they give up on the thing they want to go after the thing they need. And because they embrace the thing they need, they solve the story and achieve the thing they want, right? So with Lord of the Rings, specifically focusing on Frodo, Frodo wants to destroy the ring, and he wants to go back to his peaceful life, right? But just wanting that isn't enough. What he needs is to realize he can lean on Sam, he can work together with him, and that he needs help to destroy the ring. I believe Tolkien's quoted as saying that no person in Mount Doom, the center of the ring's power, would be strong enough to destroy the ring by themselves. Frodo wants to destroy the ring. He wants to do everything himself. He needs to lean on others, specifically Sam, to destroy it. The climax of the story is solved because Frodo embraces the thing he needs, which was not the thing he realized, but by embracing what he needs, he solves the story and gets what he wants. If that makes sense. It's an important, very important part of the story, and it's something you set up early on. I'm trying to think of another example. I've heard it described as the lie the character believes. The character should believe a lie that they think will solve all their problems, and only by realizing a separate truth are they able to actually get what they want, right? Lord Alcatraz over on Video App said you're like Asmongold and Andrew Tate had a love child. Well, my friend, it's a special day today because the Asmongold counter has been upped twice. Everybody, count it, 72 mentions. Oh, the counter climbs again. Not 72 in a day if you're new to stream, 72 overall, but I get that a lot. Up it goes. Anyway, back to our final moments in the story structure. Meg Aitchison and the confetti gift to celebrate the blanking on the word, the Asmongold comparison. I love it. Oh, you're good, Alcatraz. You're good, man. I don't take it as an insult. It's all good. When I had hair, people said I looked like Andrew Luck, the NFL quarterback. So that was the best one. He's also a reader, by the way. He would bring books into the locker room and recommend them to his teammates. He's a bizarre and interesting person. I love him. Fat Frog, you said, in the structure I use, the climax is called the resolution, which can be a bit confusing. I think that's fair, though, Frog. I think resolution makes sense. It can be a bit confusing with the thing we're about to get to, which is the conclusion. I got to pull it down more. The conclusion, right there. Best part of the story. But that works. Footless Hooligan, you said, honestly, if I had to compare you, it'd be more towards Lord Minion 77, and in a good way, too. Well, thank you. As I said earlier, I don't know a lot of streamers, so I'm just going to assume all these people are incredibly handsome, well-spoken, rich, famous. That's clearly who I appear like, right? Oh, thank you, Natural. You said my community is awesome. They are awesome, aren't they? I love the folks that come and hang out here, man. We have a good vibe in the morning. It really starts my week off, my day off, in a good mindset. We used to call this stream just a cozy way to start the day, and I think we've maintained that atmosphere. I appreciate y'all being here and doing that. Okay. Yes. Jack Ann, you said the resolution comes after the climax. It's the emotional toll after the physical battle. Yeah, full on. That's exactly it. So let's get to the last point in this tree. What I have labeled as the conclusion here, sorry, it's upside down. This thing is meant to be viewed horizontally, but vertical streaming, so we had to make it fit. The conclusion, you'll notice it's very small. In fact, it's about 2% of the story. More on that in a moment. The conclusion is the payoff of everything that's happened at this point. Everything that the main characters struggled for, they have achieved their end. Frodo has destroyed the ring. The conclusion is where we get to see them be happy. They've achieved their goal. They get to rest. They get to go home. They get to enjoy what they've achieved. One of my favorite things about, forgive me for mentioning it, but the Harry Potter books was after every climax, you would have like a debrief scene with like Dumbledore or somebody else important. In hindsight, a lot of that was used to explain things that should have been explained in the climax, but it's a nice extra moment with the characters to see them with the tension removed, the stress, the drama, the pain. A lot of that has been lifted because the story has been resolved. The conclusion is basically a victory lap where you get to see the characters happy having achieved their goal. Continuing our analogy for Lord of the Rings, which has a very long conclusion, this is Frodo returning to the Shire. This is Sam marrying... Oh boy, forgive me for forgetting her name. I forget her name, but the bartender that he marries. God, I can't believe I've forgotten that. Someone in chat knows. Someone in chat knows. You can tell me. This is basically the happy moments after everything has been resolved. Rosie, thank you, Sydney. I'm so ashamed that I forgot that. Tolkien, Sam, everybody, forgive me. The conclusion is one of my favorite parts of the story because often, see, it's only 2% on this graph. That's a safe place to have it, but it's okay to have a little more conclusion. I never think it's a bad thing to give your characters a little more time with the audience to just enjoy the victory. This is where you revel and celebrate in having completed the story. Your readers have journeyed with you, along with your poor tortured characters, all the way to this point of the book. This is the point where you get to celebrate, you get to relax, you get to just take your victory lap. And then right at the end of it, if we're writing a book that's going to have another sequel, if we're trying to turn one book into multiple, right at the end of the conclusion is where you're going to introduce one last twist of the knife, right? You're going to bring in the plot for the next book, the problem for the next book. Not too heavy-handed, but you're going to mention it because you want your readers to go, wow, that was a good story. I'm satisfied. We did it. I'm so happy for the main characters. Wow, look how happy you are. They're really enjoying themselves. Huh, what's that? And you want to leave them on that last thought that leads into the next book. And there you have it, folks. I think a little slapdash, a little thrown together perhaps, but there is an overview of story structure in a general sense. If there's any questions, any part you want me to focus on again, please ask. Happy to clear it up, because I'm sure that was not the most coherent. Kind of doing it off the fly, but I think it's better like that sometimes. These are things that I think about as I'm plotting and writing books. So yeah. Jackie Ann, you said for some books the conclusion is 5 or 6% of the story. And I like that personally. I try to do 2 chapters at the end of my books of conclusion. Several of my books don't have that, and that's my fault. And going forward, I try to do at least 1 full chapter, if not 2 chapters, where we get our victory lap with the characters. Ghost of Phoenix said, I'd be curious about the conclusion or Act 3 for stories that end in tragedy. Yes, that is a good question, right? Stories that end in tragedy don't fit this too much, but they still do in a lot of respects, because while the conclusion is a victory lap in most stories with a happy ending, in a story that's a tragic ending, you still have an emotional stillness, time with the characters with the plot resolved, even if that resolution is a negative. So I think of the conclusion as a happy time because I write books that have happy endings. If you have a tragic ending, you still have this 2 chapters with the characters with the plot resolved. It just might not be as happy, but it should still bring closure to the story. It might not be happy closure, but readers won't feel satisfied unless a story has a satisfying ending. Doesn't mean happy, but it needs to be satisfying. They're different things. Sir Paint, welcome in over on Video App. I would, I'm glad to see you, my friend, but I would recommend, this is going to be a stream to watch on the replay. because I just went over, for the last hour, we covered basically the entire graph here for the important parts of a story. Story structure, basically the 11 bullet points you need to make a satisfying story. But if you have any questions about what you see, feel free to ask. But I went through each one in detail on the stream today. Let's see. NA League support, you said, is this where you start planning, or do you have another start point? At the conclusion, typically, I will, if I'm expecting another book, I will have thought throughout the book, what are unresolved plot threads or small plot threads that I could build into something bigger for a next book. I just kind of be thinking about that in the back of my head as I write, and then when we reach this conclusion, that's when I would, sow that seed, essentially. Plant it and put the idea in the reader's head that leaves them wanting a little bit more. Hydrokim said, in most stories there are multiple character stories interwoven. It makes sense to have multiple chapters of resolution. Yes, if you have a multi-POV story, you're going to need a resolution for any main characters. And that's why stuff like A Song of Ice and Fire, any story that's got a lot of POV characters is going to have more resolution chapters, because you need to resolve each of those. I said earlier, this is a character-centric way to look at a story, and every main character needs to go on this journey, essentially. But the primary, you might have 3 main characters, but one of them gets more page time than the other 2. They're the one that you're going to spend the most time going through each of these plot points with. The other 2 main characters should still experience these stories, but it might be abridged. You might spend less time on it. It might not be seen entirely through their eyes, but typically this is the journey that a main character is going to go on. Ghost, you said, where do I vote for the goblins? It is linked in my bio. I guess, you know what? I should shout that out on stream. Y'all, I am very happy to say that Wriggly Little Hands, my most recent book, has been nominated for the Indie Ink Awards for self-published fiction. It's in 5 different categories, including Best Cover Art, MVP Side Character, Best Morally Gray Character. So, if you've read Wriggly and you've enjoyed it and you want to help support me for the Indie Ink Awards, the first link in my bio goes to the website where you can vote. I would be honored if you'd vote between now and the end of the year. Just once. It's not one of those things where you got to vote every day. If you can just take 5 minutes, go to the link in my bio and vote for Wriggly Little Hands, I'd appreciate y'all. Writing this book was a big, weird risk and adventure for me. I literally, while writing it, went, this might be utter garbage. I've never written a book like this. I have no idea how it's going to go. And it's been my second most successful book and my favorite book. So it's really nice to see it getting recognition. So if you want to vote for it, I appreciate y'all. And like I said, first link in my bio. Thank you very much, Ghost. Thank you, Frog. I appreciate you. Jackie Ann, you said main characters are different from your protagonist. It's true. It's true. Though the definitions can be a bit loosey-goosey. You can have main characters who aren't POV characters. But I guess we could say every protagonist should go through this arc. Any characters you really care about that are important to the story, basically. There's a whole other discussion in there on character arcs. The average character goes through what we call a positive change arc. They start in one place and they grow to be better throughout the story. That's a positive change arc. There are negative change arcs. Joe Abercrombie famously writes a lot of these. You'll see characters start in one place, and by the end of the story, they're worse than they started out. It's a difficult thing to do because it can be unfulfilling. So it's got to be handled well, but it's very interesting. And then there's also, what is it called? It's it's not flat. I forget the term for it right now, but it's basically a neutral arc in that the character knows they're right from the beginning, and their battle, their journey is more convincing the world around them to agree with their view. That's a much more rare type of character, but it is kind of one of the big 3. Positive change, negative change, and neutral. Oh, Jackie Ann, you have a great graphic for character arcs. She'll drop in Discord. Awesome. Yeah, please do. That would be great. I'd love to look at that. And I got to give a shout out again, y'all, to, here, let's rotate this for a moment. How do we do that? I know there's a way to do it. I guess we could just try it with clicking, right? Transform, rotate 90 degrees. Haha, we did it right. Y'all, again, shout out to, right here, I know TikTok doesn't like URLs on screen, but shout out to Helping Writers Become Authors. That is KM Weiland's website. She is wonderful for writing stuff like this. She's a massive database of free resources. She's linked in my Discord in the Writing Resources channel. I have her website linked. I learned so much about writing for her. It's entirely free, which is just seriously amazing, and I really appreciate her. So I learned a lot of this information from her, and this graphic is compiled from her entire series on this. So if what I did today was very much an overview, if you want to read like an article on each of these things, each of these points, she's got an entire series on that. I highly recommend reading it. I read it like once a year to refresh my memory. Footless Hooligan, thank you for the galaxy, my man. I appreciate you. That is incredible. Thank you very much. Very generous gift. Hold on, I gotta give a gift back for that one. We gotta go full in. So we have a little Dodo. Her name was KM Weiland. I'll put that in chat for you. She is an author as well as like writing instructor, I suppose. She's awesome. Footless, we have a tradition here. If you give a gift, you get a gift. So you gave me a gift, so I'm going to give you a gift of goblins. In fact, if I don't drop them, a whole bunch of goblins. That's what you get. I appreciate it. So these are yours now. Here you go, buddy. They're all yours. There's a couple rules with them. You'll probably figure it out as you go. But don't feed them after midnight. And please hide anything flammable in your house. They will find it. It goes downhill from there. They are very inspired by the goblins in Wriggly Little Hands. Very mischievous, just like them. So thank you very much for your gift, my friend. That is quite generous of you. So, folks, how did we like this? How did we like this new idea? I was literally sitting there last night, going to sleep, trying to think what we were gonna do. Oh, you know what? Let me show Jack Ann's chart real quick from Discord. Where did we post it, Jack Ann? Is it in Writing Craft? Ah, perfect. Perfect use of that channel. Let's see if we can get this in here. Move chat out of there. Okay, so let's look at this. Self-editing character arcs. Thank you for sharing this, Jack Ann. I appreciate it. So, positive arc. That's, well, let's see if we can fit this on screen better. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. Haha, we did it. So, positive change arcs. Establish a neutral or negative start for the character. Show their perception of self and others. Stumble and fall progress. Okay, so I'm going to actually overlay this a little bit over the chart that we just talked about. So establishing neutral or negative start. That is going to be the hook and the time between the hook and the inciting event. That is the normal world of the story, right? That's where we establish a neutral or negative start for the character. It is the starting point. The perception of self and others, that's going to tie into the time between the hook and the inciting event, maybe even the key event. We show how the main character looks at the world. The stumble and fall progress, that's going to tie right into the pinch point. Can you see that? I can't see my preview. I think you can. Yes, you can. That's going to tie into the pinch point. That's when the character is trying to do better and facing obstacles, stopping them from just, it can't be easy, right? It's not fun to read someone just succeed with ease. They got to have trials and tribulations. Al, you said, what do I search on Google to get that image about negative/positive? Al, if you go to my bio and jump into my Discord that's linked there, Jack Ann has generously shared this image in the Writing Craft channel. That's where I'm seeing it, and that is the... I'm sure it might be somewhere else out there. I'm not sure, Jack Ann. But that's definitely where you can find it. So next, for the positive change arc, you're going to grow through flaws, learning, and healing. This is like the montage that I told you about. This is the character pivoting from reaction to action. They are growing because of the adventure. This would probably fit montage even better, striving for goal. The big climactic moment, that's going to jump right up into our climax, essentially. And then, as Jack Ann talked about, your earned resolution and the look back / reflection. That's going to tie right into the climax and conclusion. Mainly the conclusion, where we're doing our victory lap. We've seen the character improve, essentially. So Jack Ann, thank you for sharing this graphic. There's a lot more good stuff here, folks. Feel free to look into it. This looks awesome. I'm going to look at it more in depth after stream as well. I think character arcs is a different stream at some other time. But hey, maybe we do something like this again for that. Could do a whole lesson on each of those. So y'all, thank you for joining me for this one. If you're coming in late, just know my video app account starts with a Y and ends with a tube. It's linked in my bio. If you want to watch this back, please, there will be a replay of it there. So you should be able to go watch it from start to finish. And hopefully in that replay, I make some sort of coherent sense about this. But I'll just say, keep in mind, if you're using this for writing, keep in mind that it is a guideline. You don't have to stick to it strictly. I would just say it's the 11 most important things to have in your book. But they don't necessarily have to come exactly where it says they do, right? There's some flexibility. These are just stepping stones for a satisfying story. So thank you for joining me on this one, y'all. This was fun. Just a little something new. Got a wild hair, wanted to try it out. I'll just say, if you have any last questions, feel free to ask. I'll be happy to answer them on my way out. But otherwise, I think we wrap up, and I need to get to my work day. And instead of talking about books, I need to go write a few books. And I'll also wrap up with, y'all, these are my books. At least my book ones. There's sequels to many of these. They're all linked in my bio. They're for sale anywhere you buy books and audiobooks for the most part. So if any of them look interesting to you, please check them out. I am a full-time author. Aside from streaming, so that's how I support myself. If you want to support me or the stream, check out one of my books. Hey, you might enjoy it. I hope you do, in fact. Alright, well that was fun, y'all. That was a, I don't know, impromptu class, I suppose, but I enjoyed it. Thank you for bringing the enthusiasm, hanging out with me. That's a hard name to read. D-A-E-R Danian. You said, did I finish the map for Wriggly Little Hands? I have not. Let's see, we can pull it up. We're going to be working on it Friday, so by the way, come on back on Friday, y'all, because we'll be working on this map, which I'm going to pull up in a minute. In fact, hey, we'll pull up an image that I have of it. Show you the progress where it sits right now. Thank you for the follows, by the way. I appreciate y'all. Let's see. It is this one, and here's the most recent image. Let's do display capture so you can see it. So here's kind of the map as it stands now, and we made some good progress on the last stream. We're gonna be doing a lot more on Friday. I particularly love how this came out, this little autumnal veil up north. I think what I had said I wanted to do was this peninsula off to the left. We ended up working on this instead, and hey, I'm really happy. I think that's beautiful. Needs a little more green in there, but it looks really nice. We're going to keep working on the map, y'all. Boy, it's coming out. I love this map. I'm having so much fun with it. And we also did this area, the Barrows of Blissful Bewilderment, where this enchanted fog makes you forget everything once you enter it. That's why it's obscured on the map. So yeah, who knows what we'll be working on. If you got a region you want to work on stream, let me know. We could do that on Friday. But come on back Friday at 7 a.m. Central, and we're going to be doing this map. Oh, and right at the end here, I lost my TikTok chat. I always risk it when I click out of TikTok Studio. Either way, folks, thank you for joining me today. It's been an absolute pleasure to have you. As always, thank you to Kevin MacLeod of Incompetech.com for the use of his songs Farm, Manor, Cottages, and Northern Glade, which have been 4 of our 5 background songs today. Our 5th background song is entitled Midnight at the Round Table and was composed and produced by community member Raffi the Engineer. You might have seen him in chat today. Raffi, I appreciate you, buddy. Thank you for making that song. It's awesome. As always, a shout out to my excellent moderators who keep it nice and good, keep the vibes going around here. That's going to be Melissa Lee, 28, Raffi, the engineer, One Happy Harpy, the Seth Ward, other name wasn't available, aka Slindy, Leisha T, and Aaron Winnick. I appreciate y'all. And most of all, chat, I appreciate you. You guys keep the vibes good. I have moderators. I rarely need them, and that's a beautiful thing. Thank you for being a great community. Thank you for joining me here. This is awesome, y'all. I mean, what a weird, wild, crazy thing that I stream and y'all show up and we just like vibe to start the day. I don't know. I enjoy it. I'm grateful for it. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here. I will be back Friday at 7 a.m. Central for Fantasy Map Friday. There we go. There's the graphic for it. I hope to see you here. Until then, folks, I hope you have a great time. Hope you have a great Wednesday, a great Thursday, and we're going to kick off Friday strong. We're going to make some maps, and we're going to coast into that weekend. That sounds good to you? Sounds good to me. Everybody, thank you very much. Sir Paint, it was a pleasure to have you. Sorry you joined right at the end. Jake Hartman over on Video App. All my regulars on TikTok, including... we got some new names over there today. Footless Hooligan, thank you for joining me. Sweeping Sage. Reluctant Wombat. I see y'all were lurking a little bit, but we enjoy, that's the word I was looking for, we enjoy having you here. So thank you very much, folks. I hope you enjoyed today. I will catch you next time. Until then, be excellent to each other, and thanks for watching.